Good afternoon. My name is Simphiwe Ngubane. Today we are hosting a webinar entitled Plagiarism and Academic Argumentation in collaboration with Fundani Centre for Higher Education and Development, also known as CHED, the Writing Centre. They will be demonstrating some of the many aspects of plagiarism and how best students, particularly undergraduate students, can best avoid them. So I'd like to introduce people that are here today and also anybody who might be watching after. Golden Key, again, is, if I can just move the slide there, Golden Key is the largest international honor society in the world. We are based all over the world, as I said already. There are various chapters across the world, in America and South Africa. CPUT has one such chapter. The whole point about Golden Key is to honor and recognize academically qualifying and academically brilliant students and help them realize their potential and maximize their potential as they are in high school, as they are in university, and as they progress on in their lives afterwards. So the whole point of this is to just enrich the individual academically, professionally, and personally. And we feel as though the current presentation that we have today will be of great use to students across the board now and in the rest of their academic journeys. I'd like to, at this moment, stop sharing my screen and present Fundani CHED, the representatives of the Writing Centre. They will be giving us a presentation today. And I'm sure it'll be very interesting. I'm personally very excited to hear everything that's going to be said. So I'll stop sharing my screen and I'll hand over to Fundani, if that's okay. I'll stop sharing my screen, sir. I'll hand over to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us this day. My name is Thembinkosi Mthonjeni. I'm an academic literacy lecturer at Fundani. I am with my colleagues, Mr. Lutendo Nendauni, Dr. Vuyokazi Mtuyetwa, and Mrs. Puleng Sefalane Ngohla. I don't know if Dr. Mtuyetwa is with us because she indicated that she's got another commitment. And then we've got Mrs. Jeans Collins as well. She's the contact person if you need our assistance. Maybe you will realize that after this presentation. Yeah. Ms. Puleng, do you want to go ahead?
Okay. I thought Vuyokazi is here. Is she not here?
She's got a meeting, teaching and learning committee meeting.
Okay. All right. Good
Maybe
afternoon, colleagues.
She was right there.
All right. Good afternoon, colleagues, and to the group of Golden Key members. My name is Puleng Sefalane Ngohla. I'm with my colleagues, as Mr. Mthonjeni has said, and we are going to be talking to you about how to avoid plagiarism and its drawbacks and how to develop your own academic voice in academic writing. So we are going to be facilitating this session as the group of lecturers from Fundani. But before we continue with this talk, we first need to give you a background of what is this Fundani that we're talking about, so that you can have an idea what is it that we're doing at Fundani. So what is this Fundani Center about then? The Fundani Center is a center for higher education. It has different units that it serves at CPUT for lecturers and for students. But those units are different units who are doing different kinds of work that they are supporting and helping CPUT students and lecturers with. Our unit is called the Student Learning Unit, where we are helping students with holistic development of CPUT students, which we are focusing on academic and strategic literacies of students. At the Student Learning Unit, we are not only focusing on the Writing Center part, we also have the STEM, the Maths and Tutor Training maths and the STEM support, math, science, and chemistry development, which is headed by our colleague, Dr. Freki George. We also have the tutor and TA training, where senior students are being trained to become tutors, and some of them, they're being trained to become teaching assistants to lecturers. And we also have the academic literacy or the writing center, which is us, where we're working with students, holistic development and academic development. So this is how Fundani, the student learning unit of Fundani, is structured then. So we are cognizant of the fact that reading and writing are the biggest challenges that are encountered by students at university, because reading is taught at school, but rarely that writing is done. As much as we were taught to write from left to right at school, but we are not taught how to write in a way that is accepted at university. So that is the biggest challenge of students then. So the student learning unit is helping students with that then. And some of the students are having problems because of problems with academic writing because of their socioeconomic backgrounds and the historical and socioeconomic backgrounds that cause them to have problems. You'll find that some of them, they were taught English in their vernaculars, and now it is difficult for them to translate what they were taught or what they are learning at CPUT, because CPUT is favoring the middle class students, or middle class students, because the language of assessment and the language of teaching is English, which not all of CPUT students were taught in English. Some of them, they were taught in their vernaculars, which disadvantaged them then. And then the argumented is the challenge of a second or third language speakers of English. CPUT students are diverse in terms of race, linguistic background, and socioeconomic background. And you'll find that some of students, English is their second, third language, and they are learning in English, which is disadvantaging them because lecturers expect them to write in the middle class language, which is this English, of which now it is going to be their third or second language then. And beyond helping students to expose the hidden values and dimensions of knowledge and disciplinary discourse, our duty is to cultivate disposition for critically and recognizing for the pluriversality of knowledge, interpretation, and meaning making, so that students, when they write or read, then they can, whatever they write, it must make meaning to the reader, and the reader can have a clear picture of what is it that the student is writing. You can move to the next slide. Thank you. So what is this avoiding plagiarism and developing academic writing is then? So this webinar then, we intend to enable you to understand academic discourse and how to make implicit values more explicit during essay or report writing. We're wanting you to explain things that are unclear so that the reader, who is your lecturer now or your audience when reading your document or your script, understand what is it that you have written for him or her. And now we are going to be defining plagiarism to you and explain CPUT policy on plagiarism. Maybe some of you did not know that CPUT has policy. Every place or organization is governed by policies. It has constitution, it has policies. So small little things that are done at work has policies. Even plagiarism has a policy, because CPUT is governed by policies. So students need to understand and know the policy. What is the cause and the effect of me copying when I'm a first year student, when I'm a third year student, when I'm a BTech or postgraduate student, or when I'm a lecturer? What is the cause of my copying? What is it that I'm going to be facing then? That we're going to hear from the policy. When we are going to be empowering you with the requisite skills on paraphrasing and referencing, so that you can back up your back, you can back yourself and cover your back and protect yourself to be able to not to be plagiarized, not to be accused of plagiarizing, so that the lecturers cannot say you have plagiarized, because you'll be able to paraphrase and reference or summarize the text that you've got from the resources that you are using, the articles that you are using, by means of in-text referencing them and paraphrasing them. And we're also going to show you the structure of academic argumentation, and also help you to develop and sustain your own voice during academic writing, so that the reader, when the reader is writing, can hear you, not read read the author's work, can hear you, can read your writing through the author's information. And we are also going to show you how to summarize or paraphrase, but still write in your own voice. And then you must also in-text reference that work, because that work will not be your work. It will be the author's work that you've given, that you've used. Next slide, please. Here now we're having these 4 pictures here where we can see that there are people who are on the images. Then there's somebody who's having something on her hand, and somebody has written on her long sleeve, and then on her arm, and then she's got her long sleeve shirt. And there are 2 teenage girl and the teenage girl and the boy. It looks like they're holding hands, and then the other one are kissing, and one is crying over there. What can you tell us about the pictures that you are seeing on the screen? Melanie. Sheris, what can you tell us about the screen? Okay, Simple, you can talk.
Can I talk?
Yes,
okay,
you can.
Fantastic. So in terms of the pictures, what am I supposed to be commenting on? What do I see?
And yes, your interpretation, what do these images on the screen tells you?
So the first picture, you clearly see a girl or a woman, if you want to call her that, on the left-hand side, and you see a couple on the other side. And the man is holding the hand of the other woman, as opposed to his girlfriend, presumably his girlfriend. We don't know that, but I'm assuming it is his girlfriend because of the body language that they have together. So it's implying a lot of it's implying that this man is or this individual, this man is not trustworthy, is cheating, is doing something he's not supposed to be doing. And the arrow with the Y again is insinuating or implying, I should say, that something untoward is going on, something not right is going on. And the third image and the fourth image at the bottom, you see a student very clearly writing a test, I think, and he has it like some sort of notes cheating there. And the other picture as well with the arrow next to it, you see somebody who's clearly writing cheat codes or cheat sheets or whatever you want to call it on their hand or on their arm, I should say, implying again dishonesty and cheating in that respect.
All right. Yes. Thank you so much then. And the purpose of this workshop is for us to help you not to do what is here on the screen, because it's going to land you into trouble where you are going to be accused of plagiarizing, and universities has its own courts and lawyers. And it's a very offensive act for the university if you are caught cheating. Okay. Can you? Okay.
Is the students at the bottom, the one with the little piece of paper tucked away in the shirt, and the one who's writing notes on the, pretending to have a tattoo, but is writing notes on the arm? Are they not working smart just to remind themselves of something that they might have read the previous night, and now they would have forgotten about it during the exam? Doesn't that define smartness?
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, then can I ask you if you could move the slide, please, to the next one? All right, then this is the definition of the academic discourse, which is taken from the author Tenorio, which was written in 2011, which reads as follows then: in the process of constructing themselves in society, individuals internalize discourses that compromise the core of a community of practice, in the sense that such discourses control and organize what can be talked about, how it can be talked about, and by whom. This is the description of academic discourse written by Tenorio, 2011. Here, academic discourse is it's a specialized language that is being used when one is writing. It is not the language that is used by family, by friends, by church people. Every organization or place as its own context. That's why they said academic writing is socially context. So this, when you write, then you write according to the context that you are in, or according to the discipline that you are in. So you cannot just write the way you want to write. You have to follow rules of that particular discipline. Can you move to the next slide, please? All right, then. So here we're talking about the iceberg metaphor, which describes the relationship between the explicit and the tacit knowledge of information. Here, how does academic literacy help students to make explicit information which is known, and what is implicit, which is hidden during the writing or the presentation? This is what we are going to be talking about then, because you are going to be taking out what is known and explain what is hidden out of it, and during the writing or the presentation that is done. Remember, you are when you're writing in academia, you're writing using your own, not using your own words or information, using someone else's information. But that information that you are using, you need to acknowledge the source of it, and then show the lecturer or whoever the product of the written document is intended to, that you've acknowledged the sources that you've used, because not that information is coming from you. You don't own any of that particular information. That's why you are going to be making to make the explicit information that is known and show out the implicit then that is hidden during your writing process. Can you move to the next slide, please? So here we're talking about the dimensions of academic discourse then. So we are talking about the interpretation and the understanding and the analysis of bedrock of academic writing. In academic writing, then we've got concepts, theories, and facts and processes which describe and explain the talk that the information that you are dealing with then. And we also have the possibilities. The possibilities can have positive consequences, and we also have challenges which might be negative, and we also have contradictions which are opposite, and conflict or and paradoxes. We also have correlations then, which are the causes and the effects, and we have also similarities, which are confluences and convergences, and we have differences, which are divergences and diversity in academic writing. These are the dimensions of academic writing. Do you perhaps want to move to the next slide? So here we're talking about academic text production, whether it's in an essay or in a report then. And when we are writing, then we're first analyzing and synthesizing the information that we are given. When lecturers give students information then, or a topic, students first need to understand what is the topic, what is required of them from that particular topic. Then they need to analyze and synthesize that topic that they are given, and they need to decode and critiquing the original text then. So you are going to have the object and the context and the evidence, where the end point and the intentional of action is determined by the context, by the object, and the context, which is the situation, the place, and the time. And the evidence is the proof and the substance of what you are getting from what you've written about. Can you move to the next slide, please? So on this slide, we're talking about the importance of doing a text analysis. Why do we have to do text analysis? What is this text analysis then? Text analysis then refers to the context or a book or a journal article or any other printed material which is produced by the author. It could be online text. Nowadays, we are online. Everything that we're getting, we're using it from online sources. We hardly go to campuses to get articles or books in the library. So the text that we're using is online text then. And then it could be messaging you are sending to someone, or essay or report or proposals. Those then are texts which maybe they are online. Sometimes, yes, they are online because you are typing them on emails or on Word, but then it's text that refers to the content of the book or the journal that you use then. And then when decoding, what does that mean then, decoding the text? It means analyzing and critiquing the text then, where it entails doing a thorough examination of the elements of the structure of the text, and where you're dealing with the language of the text and its effects on the reader. Because human beings are humans, then we've got I don't know what's going on. All right, then we've got feelings and emotions. When someone is reading, then sometimes it's easy for one to get amused and be upset by what is written from the text. That's why they're saying we're dealing with the language of the text and its effects of the reader. The reader might be might be affected by what is written on the document. So we need to be careful of how we read. That's why they said we need to be impersonal when we write academic text, and it has to be formal. We cannot be using informal language when we write, and we need to avoid the first plurals, and then we need to write in a third person singular then. And we also may identify other words, sentences, and images to shape our narrative and the synthesis, and to provide evidence of the substance of what we're writing about. Can you go to the next slide? It looks like it's empty. All right, yes, then, okay. Why is it important to do this text analysis? Remember, I spoke about you as the reader, as a writer, but that writer has the audience that is going to read that text then. Why is it important to do text analysis? Because we've got the audience, which is your target reader then. And in our instances then, our target audience or reader is the lecturer, the person that you need to impress and make sure that your writing impresses him or her, because that person is going to award you with the percentage or the mark for the document that you've written him then or her. In the context of writing, which is the disciplinary situation, when one is writing in the engineering, he or she needs to write in the disciplinary of engineering. He cannot make use of the language that is used in business faculty or in education. He has to use the terminology of engineers, the terminology that is used within that particular department or field of study in engineering. We've got so many departments with engineering. When one is studying electrical engineering, one has to write according to the terminology of electrical engineers then. And also, we also have intertextuality and synthesis of ideas, which refers to bringing text form from various sources and contexts to enrich our own argument. And also the fusion of horizons, which is the achievement of meaning between the text writer and the text reader. We drive towards shared interpretation and commonality. This is achievable through performing the analysis, synthesis, and evaluation of the text that one is using. All right, then, okay, you can move to the next slide. How can we do text analysis then? All right, let me ask if my colleague, okay. All right, can I give my colleague to do this one? Okay, so that he can do the following slide. All right, Mr. Nandawuni or Mr. Tembi, can you go ahead, please?
Okay, thank you, ma'am. I shall proceed. So how can we do basic textual analysis? So we have got analysis in terms of 3 levels of abstraction. Level 1 is in terms of the text. So you would have to ask yourself questions such as, what do I see in the text and how is the text structured? So it's in an abstraction state. And then the second level is in terms of meaning. What does the text signify? Which meaning do you extract from what you see and from what the text and from how the text is structured? Then lastly, it will be in terms of evidence. What is it that is in the text that makes me believe what it says? And then how does it influence my reaction to the message advanced? So it's the text, the meaning, then the evidence. So these are the 3 levels of abstractions that you need to be aware of when you're doing basic textual analysis, so that you can get the meaning that is embedded within the text. We can proceed to the next slide. So plagiarism is a specific form of cheating and is generally defined as presenting someone else as your own. So it's wherein you take what you've read somewhere else and present it as if it is yours. So that's what we mean by plagiarism. Either in a textbook or a website or an article, it does not matter. If you're reading something that you did not write, do not present it as if you were the one behind that idea. So look at the text. We've got some cartoons there. So the student is shouting and screaming, I believe, to the facilitator, "So what do you mean all my facts are wrong? I copied everything straight off the internet." So students have got, this assumption that Google or whatever search engines they use contains accurate information and is the answer to their academic misery. So students believe that if they go to the net and copy what is in the net, it is right as it is, without actually acknowledging where they got the source from. That is why the student is surprised that his facts are wrong, yet he got the information from the net. So you need to avoid plagiarism, because it's part of the complexities that students need to address in terms of ethics, legality, professionalism, respect of intellectual property, understanding professional theft, and ensuring integrity, which are the hallmark of education enterprise. So you need to uphold ethical integrity as well as professional standard within the university. So students need a greater understanding of the learning ecology. This would be a complex interactive system involving multiple elements whose function is to support the learning process and the academic excellence. Hence the need or the appropriateness of this workshop, so that you get to know what is it that you need to know regarding plagiarism and which ethics you need to apply. So what is important to avoid, why is it important to avoid plagiarism? According to Moxley and Archer 2009, they associate plagiarism and referencing with ethics in education. So ethics refers to that which is right or wrong. So if you're doing something that is wrong, then we would say it is unethical. So for you to do something that is right, it means you need to uphold the ethics. So it is necessary for students to learn about academic integrity or the moral code of academia, so that you know what is it that is moral and what is it that is immoral. Once you do something that is immoral, then it suffers to be unethical. So you need to be moral, so that we can say you're upholding the ethical standard. So values such as honesty, trust, respect, fairness, and responsibilities are crucial to acquire or develop. So this is also useful in daily lives. So which of the following practices you are guilty of when writing? So actions that might be seen as plagiarism, we have got buying, stealing, or borrowing a paper, and also using the source too closely when paraphrasing. Hiring someone to write your paper, students normally do this. More especially at rest, there are those who write for others, so it's unethical to do so. Building on someone's ideas without citation. You do not find an idea from a book and build from it without acknowledging the source of the original idea. You need to acknowledge that you are departing from the findings of this researcher, or you are departing from the idea of this author before you build your own, you pave your own way. Copying from another source without citing, on purpose or by accident. So you should not copy from another source without citing. You need to cite where you got the information from. So we've got deliberate plagiarism, wherein you do it knowingly that you are copying, or you paying someone to write for you, or you stole someone's work knowingly. Well, and then we have got possible accidental plagiarism, wherein it could happen that you missed a source here and there, or you have attached the wrong source to relevant information that you might have adopted from the real source. It does happen. So that's what we mean by deliberate plagiarism and possible accidental plagiarism. We can proceed to slide 16.
Mr. Nenda, I thought we were going to ask them to reveal their secrets about their possible plagiarism act which they might have committed, whether deliberately or accidentally. Do we have takers? Somebody to say something about it?
Yes, students, do you have something? Do you have something to share? Okay. In the
I'll share some. Sorry, so I'll share something. Perhaps maybe some other people might jump in, but if not, I have perhaps, I think the first year that I was at CPUT, I may have copied and pasted a bit too frequently in my writing. So you sort of you do your referencing and you do in-text referencing, but you perhaps use the author and the article, the publication, far more than you use your own words. So that's been some of my experiences in writing from my first year, I should say. Obviously, it's become a bit better, but I used to just copy and paste more often than not and use the author's words more than I would use my own. So that's just one example I can think of.
Okay, thank you for your contribution. Okay, very informative, and thanks for sharing. So we have got the CPUT policy on plagiarism. As Mems Falane said, every university has got its own policies, and they do have policies regarding plagiarism. So CPUT policy defines plagiarism as the representation of another person's ideas, research expressions, computer code, design artifacts, or work as one's own. So it's still the same thing that we did highlight in the previous slides when we were introducing the concept of plagiarism. You're taking someone's idea and presenting them as yours. Level 1 plagiarism is a first instant of offense on entry level, often done by first-year students. So such as omissions of references, imitative paraphrasing, using a single source, we call this monophrasing, or a degree of verbatim copying. And then we've got level 2 plagiarism. Level 2 plagiarism is the repeat offense of level 1. So it still has the same aspects that are under level 1 plagiarism, and it applies to first-year students only. It's only for first-year students. And, they mostly do this because they are coming from high school. High school, you just write. It's more of free writing without quoting any source. So when you get to university, you are introduced to academic writing. Is something new. They're still trying to find their leg and all that. So it becomes a bit tricky for them. And then we've got a third offense. A third offense in the first year, or any form of plagiarism committed after the first year by an undergraduate student, is regarded as level 3 plagiarism. So now you have adjusted to the university. You no longer have first-year students. So once you do plagiarism again, that is regarded as level 3 plagiarism at CPUT. And then we have got level 4 plagiarism. So this is any act of plagiarism committed by postgraduate candidates, researchers, and also members of the staff. So it will apply to those who are doing their postgraduate qualifications, mostly who are doing researchers, and also us as academic staff members.
Can I come in?
Yes.
In the past, they used to define plagiarism in terms of the previous slide where you talked about deliberate and accidental. And many people would get away with that. So now with the new policy coming in, they sort of changed the categories. So you will be liable for level 1 offense in terms of plagiarism if you are a first-year student, or you have been taught, or you might have done it in the first instance and you were taught, you were corrected, and you repeated it, only if you are a first-year student. And the policy has allowed or has instructed the university to make sure that students attend the information literacy courses that are provided, short courses provided by the library, and in the study guides. Every course must make sure that students are sensitized about plagiarism, about referencing, and on top of that, the Writing Center, Fundani Writing Center, is there for them free of charge to use it in order to avoid these instances. So the trick is, you may, let's assume, for argument's sake, you may have gone through your years, first year, second year, third year, fourth year. So when you're doing your postgraduate studies, and maybe because the courses that you were doing were concerned about the content, not the presentation and the legalities and the regulations and the policies and the conventions that go with avoiding plagiarism. So let's say you missed all of that, and when you're writing your proposal at a BTech, MTech level, you encounter this situation where you are accused of plagiarizing or accused of plagiarism, and you had not been taught. So instead of saying this person is plagiarizing for the first time and must be put in level 1 plagiarism, in the category of level 1 plagiarism, they are going to put you in level 4. And when you are there, it means the penalty will meet the person who is assumed to have been taught, who is assumed to have learned about plagiarism, has learned about referencing. So that is why it is dangerous to avoid, especially if you are a senior student. So they may be lenient. You may go away with just somebody shouting at you, but there is serious repercussions for somebody who is in the senior levels in terms of their studies. So I just wanted to give that background. It is absolutely difficult. I mean, I experienced a situation where I needed to intervene in the Department of Education, and I was drawing material strength from the previous policy, saying that, no, this is a first-time offense and all of that. And the person was that I was representing was doing education. So I was made aware of the policy, the new policy, and there was no leg for me to stand on, because level 4 offenses had to be brought on board in order to deal with the situation. So I just pleaded, and then I put my head on the block that I will teach this person how to reference and how to write better, and because the panel was so lenient, they understood my situation. Otherwise, from a legal point of view, I had no leg to stand on, just because of these categories. So you deal with categories and you don't deal with other nuances. So yeah, I just wanted to.
Thank you for that, Mr. Mtonjeni. So this is the process to be followed on detection of plagiarism. So on detection of level 1 plagiarism, the staff member concerned will ascertain whether it is in fact a first offense by checking the departmental records. Secondly, he or she will ensure that the student receives further information on plagiarism. The student will then be allowed to rewrite the assignment, which will be assessed to a maximum mark of 50%. A record of the incident will be kept by the department and a letter of warning will be issued. On detection of level 2 plagiarism, the student will receive 0% for the assignment without the opportunity to resubmit. A record of the occurrence will be kept by the department and a letter of warning will be issued. On detection of level 3 plagiarism, the student will receive 0% for the assignment without the opportunity of resubmission. The matter will also be reported to the head of the department for an internal disciplinary hearing. This will usually result in cancellation of the subject for a period of time if found guilty. The disciplinary committee or presiding officer may, however, apply a suspended sentence or more severe sanctions in accordance with the particular circumstances of the offense. You can refer to academic rules and regulations. On detection of possible level 4 plagiarism for students, the matter will be referred by the HOD to an institutional disciplinary committee. On detection of possible plagiarism by any staff member in the context of studying towards a higher degree or in the context of published research, the matter will be referred to the staff member's line manager to an institutional disciplinary committee. Institutional disciplinary committee will hear the matter, and if the person concerned is found guilty, will make a final decision on what punitive measures to apply, such as suspensions for a period. So, period of time of expulsion, or in cases where plagiarism is found after awarding the degree, the withdrawal of the qualifications. In cases of academic staff plagiarism, penalties could also include probation, suspension, or dismissal. So they can also withdraw your qualification. Whatever qualification you would have been studying towards, they can withdraw it, and then you will remain without one. So those are the policies for the CPUT regarding plagiarism. We can go to the next slide.
Okay, can I jump in quickly on this one? You may come back later on talking about that. But before we move on, is there any question? Because remember, this is about plagiarism, and we've dealt with it at a more theoretical level, and we're trying to move down toward the level of practice so that we can assist you. But you know, that is the first part we dealt with, which speaks to plagiarism, speaks to the policy, speaks to the whole context of higher education. Is there any question? Can we move forward from here? Can I get a sense from the audience? Okay, I would assume that we are happy. You know, the cases of plagiarism happens most of the time when we are writing and when we are presenting the material that we will have read and analyzed, understood and misunderstood, construed and misconstrued. And we are all subjected to a process of reviewing literature. So what does that mean? It doesn't mean you have to copy and paste. This is an objective, concise, critical summary of published research literature relevant to the topic being addressed or investigated. So I want you to underline the word critical summary of research. And the aim is to inform the reader about the scope and the depth of your reading. How much have you read on the subject? So you get given an opportunity to brag about what you might have read. And so you show it through your writing, through your citations, through your demonstration of the hidden dimensions of discourse that Sisipuleng spoke about earlier on. Your correlations, contradictions, you know, theories, facts, all of those things that she mentioned that are always tacit. You know, when something is tacit, it's there, you know, it's hidden, you understand it, but you simply cannot express it. So that is about 90% or 95% of what we are dealing with on a daily basis when we are reading, and which needs to be unearthed when you are writing. So doing a literature review means that you have to integrate information by assessing it, by comparing, by contrasting, by evaluating it, to show your understanding of what is happening. You can look deeply into the internal relations of things, or you can look at different publications, comparing ideas and views of various authors, and then you say, this is what is in the market. You've evaluated, and this is what it means. So that is what you are expecting from you when you're doing literature review. And you are supposed as well to take a position, emphasize it, state, indicate whether you agree or disagree with the particular position adopted by a specific author. And this will help you to refer to other researches in your study to show that your study is a synthesis, not only analysis of what is out there, but you synthesize these different ideas that are presented by various authors into your own writing. Now it becomes bigger. Sisipuleng spoke about intertextuality. So intertextuality means drawing beyond the boundaries of your writing, drawing material strength, substances from ideas and views expressed by other authors in the field. So literature review gives you some sort of background information regarding your research, and then it helps the reader to understand, as I said, showing off how much you have read, and then demonstrating the existing gaps and how your study, how your writing seems to answer questions that are left unattended or are answered in the literature, and you sort of bring one more piece of a puzzle in this expanding base of knowledge in your field. So it gives clarity, definitions, describing, characterizing topics, concepts, dealing with theories in a different way. And it's all about highlighting disputes in the existing literature. And when talking about methodology, you look at the methodology section in various journal articles, and then you adopt one, maybe a combination of two, but you have to understand them deeply before you can use them in your own study. Maybe this applies to those who are writing research, but at Fundani, what we are now going forward wanting to bring on board is to introduce students, undergraduate students, to the concept of research, so that they don't wait until they are in, doing their postgraduate studies, to be introduced to the concept of research, to ethics and the legalities of plagiarism and referencing. So that's what we want to do. So basically, in short, steps that you need to follow when you are doing a literature review: you select a topic, you search the literature, then you develop arguments based on what you will have read. And then you go back to the literature to determine who says what about, and then you critique it. You don't accept it. The word critique means you don't accept it on the basis of the authority of the author. We don't care whether this author is well published. If the material that is presentable is contestable, you have to contest it. And then you write a review. That is why it is called a literature review. You determine its strength and its weakness. You determine to what extent it helps you to communicate your message, and to what extent does it fall short, in terms of helping you to communicate the message. If it falls short, you say that it falls short, and then you go and look for other authors. That is why it becomes a synthesis. It gets bigger than who you are. You know, talking about intertextuality, talking about drawing from other, you know, sources. The UNISA document is asking these questions. I mean, this should be a Bible for all students. This UNISA document says, you must ask the following question when you are dealing with any text or when you are citing from the internet. So, is the author cited an authority in the field? Is this person cited a lot? Is this person publishing a lot? Is it a guru in the field? And if it's the website, is it credible? And by looking at or by judging the person's tone, the person's writing, you can determine that this is an authoritative figure in the field. So you need to ask those questions. Is the article peer reviewed? You know, we value peer review process. This means that the article must have gone through a rigorous process. It has, you know, stood to the test of time in terms of the experts in the field giving it a thumbs up, a go ahead. So if it is peer reviewed, it's credible. And it will also lend credibility to your own writing. Remember, you write, you read, and then you use these opinions to bolster, to strengthen your own argument. And in the process, you will gain a lot of marks and a lot of authority as well, because you need that authority, and that authority comes with how you're presenting your material. So it means you have to be very serious about who you're referencing and what you bring into your own writing. And another important consideration is timing. Was this article written recently? Is it between 3 and 5 years old? So if you have you happen to have encountered a text, you know, a journal or book that was published maybe in the 1980s, 1990s, 1970s, and you find that the material that is presented, you know, is very pertinent. It's fine. You can bring that in, but in the same paragraph or same section, you are expected to say, this is what is happening now regarding the topic or the issue under discussion. That would say that the field is still productive, is growing, or is going. People are producing, and they are producing new ways of interpreting, new ways of looking at reality. So it's important to ask that. And if you do bring in sources that are very fresh, that are relevant as well, you stand a very good chance of presenting a prose that has credibility, and you will gain a lot of marks. And like if the information is fair and objective, is not overly emotional or emotive, or that it's using a lot of emotive language, is not politically charged, if you like. So like if the author, the one who's producing the text, if is presenting evidence as well. If there is a URL, check the link. If it is working, do not use Wikipedia. You can use Wikipedia for information purposes only, but find a formal source, because Wikipedia can be developed, can be improved by anyone. So it's for information search purposes. It's informal, but you need to find a reputable source, you know. So what do you do when you have found a reputable source? You start plagiarizing. And remember, there is what is called Turnitin or safe assign that you need to put your assignments through, and you have to make sure that you achieve less than 11% similarity index, so to avoid plagiarism. So it's important, and it's part of the CPUT practice, teaching and learning practice and assessment practice. It's important that you avoid plagiarism. You try to paraphrase. That's what I want to bring across, the concept of paraphrasing. It's not easy. I may say at a definitional level that it refers to you taking other people's ideas and putting them in your own words. Remember, it's your words, but not your work. As Pulang said, even if you have done that, you must attach a reference, because you have to acknowledge the source. And, you know, paraphrasing gives you control. and you develop your own voice, your own academic voice, we hear you. It gives you power and authority over your narrative. You know, I am sounding as if, you know, I understand what I'm talking about and I believe in it. I'm stating it with confidence, and so are my colleagues. So we don't know how much you know about plagiarism. We don't know how much you know about the subject, but we believe that we will present it the way we are presenting it. We will choose the ideas that we're going to present or communicate across to you with great confidence and authority, because we believe in the power of expression. And paraphrasing shows that not only will you be limited to the author's interpretation, you bring your own subjectivity, you bring your own experience, your own interpretation, your own understanding, and you infuse it, you reproduce, you don't reproduce the work, you improve the work, and then you present it in your own way. And by doing that, you're showing broad thinking, showing that you can draw from various sources and you use it. Here is the simplistic view of paraphrasing, simply expressing somebody's ideas in your own words. But I think you need to read the passage 3 or 4 times in order to understand it. You cannot paraphrase anything unless you understand it, and you can underline key words. Remember, we said dimensions of knowledge, dimensions of discourse include concepts, theories, you know, terminology, or it also includes facts. Underline those, because they will help you in structuring your own sentences. Remember to reference your work, your paraphrase. That's very important. And it is a simplistic view. Okay? This is the how-to of the simplistic view of paraphrasing. You read the passage to understand it, then you determine the purpose, you determine the evidence that's there, and then you look away. You read, you write it in your own words. You'll read it later, and you imagine explaining the main point to a classmate or to your co-worker, you know, and you double check if your words are consistent with the original, and then you cite the source. So this is what I will say to you about plagiarism, about paraphrasing, and it's very simplistic. Anyone understands that. Okay, more on how to of paraphrasing. We're going to what we believe is a deeper way of doing it. This is just scratching the surface at the moment. So what do you do? Again, you draw a table with 5 columns. You write original text, summary, paraphrasing, text referencing, bibliography. You can use any word processor, any Microsoft Word application to do this. You draw the table, you take a direct quote from a journal, from a website, and then you write a summary. So when you're summarizing it, you reduce it to 10%. You may use words in the original text. It's fine. Then when you have done that, when you've done the summary, then you paraphrase, you rewrite that summary in your own words, you use synonyms, you change the word order. We're going to show you how to do it. And you make sure that it's your voice that is heard. Speaking about an academic voice, it's your voice that is carrying out the narrative, that is doing the paraphrase. That will enable you to move away from the proximity to the original text. And then you go back to the original text to check whether you have not distorted or misrepresented the essence of the original text. So you go back, you check. And in the 4th column, for in-text referencing purposes, remember referencing is important as an attachment and text, as a bibliography, as a reference list as well. Or even more importantly, you need to record the author's name, the date, and the page number. And then what you need to do is to determine, to write down the full bibliographic details. Surname, initials, year of publication, title of the book, place of publication, the city where the book was published, and the publisher who published that in that city. So if it is a book, if it's a journal, you can learn about this you know, online, Google can teach you about both in-text and end of text referencing. So that's what you do. It's very simple. Then let's look at a more nuanced, but still very basic, more nuanced way of doing paraphrasing. You read and understand the text 3 times, 4 times, it's okay. Then you make a list of the main ideas. What are the important phrases? Underline them. You find alternative ways of expressing these, or you find synonyms. And make sure you do not change these specialized vocabulary. You don't change common words that are used. That is what this is what is called the disciplinary jargon, technical words that are found in a particular field of study. You don't change them. You only change all others. And then what you need to do is to change the structure of the sentence, the word order, and you change the classes of words. Change nouns to verbs. Instead of, if you come across the word to operate, then you can derive a noun out of it. And then you talk about the operationalization of. I mean, if you listen to parliamentarians, listen to politicians, they tend, and the people in the science field, they like to use what is called nominalization, creating nouns out of verbs. But for you, if you come across a noun that is a verb that is created out of a noun, or noun created, so you reverse the process and you change adjectives into adverbs, or if you come across a long sentence and you break that sentence into small sentences, or if there are so many small sentences, you combine them, you create, you know, complex sentences, and make sure you rewrite these main ideas in order to form arguments. Okay, moving along. Here is an example of a text that is adopted. I have not stolen it. Adopted from Pila, Chilia, and Chilia 2014. So it's paraphrasing at word level. So we're going to do this exercise. Let me read this passage. In the post-apartheid period, there's been a major increase in small enterprises around Johannesburg. The increase can be attributed to immigrant entrepreneurship, as the country's new residents have been forced to make a living by starting up small businesses. African immigrant entrepreneurship is fast becoming a progressively part of discourses concerning African immigration to South Africa. So this part is cited in the book, as I said, adopted from Mapila. So it's a reference within a reference, you know, primary versus secondary. So if you were to look at these, at this passage, what keywords you would underline that you would want to change? Or if you were to rewrite it at the sentence level, what would you do? Okay, let's look at, we don't have time, but you can do this on your time, at your spare time. So look at what we have done to reproduce this text in the post-apartheid period. There's been a major increase in small enterprises around Johannesburg. The increase can be attributed to immigrant entrepreneurship, as the country's new residents have been forced to make a living by starting up small businesses. African immigrant entrepreneurship is fast becoming a progressively part of discourses concerning African immigration to South Africa. Okay, so this is a paraphrase at a word level. You will notice that a number of words have been changed. We could have done this together, but let me give you the benefit. I didn't leave I'm just changing it at a word level. I didn't leave out Ojong's reference. That's the first thing that you must notice. So it reads as, in the democratic era, there has been a vast growth in small businesses around Johannesburg. The increase can be associated, not attributed, associated with foreigners' businesses, as the country's new residents have been obliged to make a living by starting up small businesses. African immigration business development is increasingly becoming part of discourses, of discussions about African immigration to South Africa. So a number of words have been changed. Okay, you can reorder, and I would suggest that you do the reordering after you have done the paraphrase. Look at this version at a sentence level. Around Johannesburg, in the post-apartheid era, there has been a major increase in small business enterprises. The immigrant entrepreneurship has increased as the country's new residents have been forced to make a living by starting up small businesses. Dawn 2005 states that African immigration entrepreneurship is fast becoming a progressively part of discourses concerning African immigration to South Africa. If you listen to this and the previous paraphrase at a word level, you will realize that not much is changed at a sentence level. Hence, I was saying, do the word level paraphrasing first and then reorder the words, reorder your sentences, reorder phrases in the sentence. If you start with the sentence level, you will be accused of plagiarism because it will be very much closer to the original text. So let me show you the proper paraphrase that we think should be done by a first-year university student. Say around Johannesburg, during the democratic era, there's been a vast growth in the small business sector. The increase can be associated with the establishment of foreigners' businesses as the country's new residents have been obliged to make a living by starting up small businesses. Ojong is cited saying African immigrant business development is increasingly becoming part of discussions about African immigration to South Africa. Where did I get this? It comes from Mapila, Chilia, and Chilia 2014. So this is a paraphrase, and I don't need to include the page numbers because I'm not citing verbatim. But tell me, what do you notice about this? Or if it is exceptional, what do you think is exceptional? You can unmute yourself and say something about what you have observed, starting with the original text, moving to word level, sentence level, and what do you notice about this? What we would call a proper paraphrase. Is there anything that is noticeable that you want to comment about? Nobody wants to try. Okay, you can stop me at any time. And moving along, you will remember that you're writing these pieces of information that you will have cited. And those pieces of information must be presented in your own writing. And when you are writing in the academy, you are sort of advancing a particular position. You're making propositions, and those propositions need to be explained and validated. So, argumentation. We said you need to identify the underlying structure of discourses, and you must understand that paragraphs do these arguments. So you have to know how paragraphs are formed. Paragraph formation is particularly important. Number one, your paragraph must have the following. It must have a claim, an assertion about the point. You identify an issue that you want to talk about in that specific paragraph. And it should be one issue per paragraph, 1 point per paragraph. In the event that you want to present more than 1 point in this paragraph, use a T model. You list all those things, you're telling the reader how you're going to present the information. One way of saying it, you will say there are 4 advantages associated with avoiding plagiarism at CPUT. Then you make a list of those. Then you can define those later on in the paragraph. That's fine. So you will have prepared the reader for that kind of engagement. And when you have made the claim, you have to explain it, make it explicit, because it's hidden, it's unknown. And when you have simplified the claim, remember, you need to bolster it, you need to back it up, you need to substantiate it, you need to validate it. So you can validate by means of citation or exemplification, create a scenario. That helps to sort of concretize and crystallize a discussion, make it more balanced, make your paragraph more stronger, because you have to provide material strength to your argumentation or to the points that you are discussing. So that is where intertextuality comes in, bringing ideas or realities or context that are outside your writing, outside of your context, in order to back up the claims, in order to elucidate and make crystal clear what you are talking about. So we expect that in each and every paragraph. So authors' ideas or text are used, 1, to back up the claims, and at the same time are used to introduce claims. So you cite, then in the process of explaining, you go deep and unearth the gold that is hidden, in the mind. So your argumentation has to speak to that. Remember, you need to do a critical appraisal of the literature. That is, you have to determine its strength and its weakness. So argumentation can be simply visually demonstrated in the following fashion. You must make sure that there is a claim, a proposition, explanation, which simplifies that claim, validation, that is evidence, proof that this thing exists elsewhere in the book or in the world, where you're bringing in scenarios, case studies to bolster your argument. You can look at it from a different dimension. It's like a rooftop kind of a structure that you follow, or if you like, it's an analogy of the pool. You go down, you get into the things, and then you go out, or it's like the waves in the sea, but we expect your argument to be like waves, not a straight line. Those of you who have been in the hospitals, in the ICU, know what happens when somebody's his response is now a straight line. That is cardiac arrest. Or you jump down the cliff and then you don't go up, so it means you are paralyzed or dead. So your arguments should be like a wave, riding the wave, dynamic, interesting. So how do you make your arguments like that when you're writing? You make a claim, you explain that claim, you validate the claim by means of evidence, research, or examples. And most of the time, when you're about to move to the next section, next heading, then you can just summarize what you've said and establish a new claim, make new propositions, make new claims. And it means now you have concluded that discussion, you are ready to go to the next level. Here is a typical example. It's very famous at CPUT, especially in the applied sciences field. We borrowed this. For example, we said, from what is known, if you remember basic textual analysis, you move to what is unknown. And then you make your proposition, that is a takeaway message. Okay, having said all of that, you will make your claim, you explain it, you validate it, but what do you want me to take away? What is the takeaway message? What is the bottom line? We say that often when we are investing in the streets. Okay, so look at this example. This person is writing about HIV and AIDS and is analyzing texts and then synthesizing them and then arrives at a conclusion, new insight, new knowledge. So information taken from source A, integrated, source 1 integrated with the information taken from source 2, and then integrated with information from source 3. But the person starts with the claim, proposition. A claim in academic writing is a true statement with value added. So value signify or implies, value implies or signifies plus or minus properties or elements. When we're talking about value, positive and negative in mathematics, credit and debit in accounting. Okay, listen to the first sentence, the opening sentence, where the claim is. It is not clear, so minus clear, that the exact current HIV infection rate for Cape Town is. So we don't know what is the current infection rate for HIV/AIDS infection rate in Cape Town. So that is the claim using the language that we understand. But what do we not understand? That is where MRC, that is source 1, is brought in, citing from that, summarizing what is written, and then weaving it with something said by Smith, which is source 2, and then moving on to integrate source 3, that is Zulu 2000. And the page numbers are provided as well. And then later on, this writer makes a new proposition based on what is presented. It says, given the variances, this number can be anything between 109,000 and 283,400. So can you see that there is a deduction? That deduction interpretation establishes a new proposition, new insight. So the writer processed this information, and this is the bottom line. So that is the takeaway message. So we want you to follow this structure. You may not be accurate, you may not be proficient, you may not master it right away, but it's something that you need to take into consideration. It's something that you need to do when you are writing. Make sure that your paragraphs contain the majority of these points. Okay, if there are 3, then it means 2 at least. I don't care whether you start with the citation, with the evidence, and then you drive towards something higher, something dense, something abstract. You go to the high levels of knowledge or deeper dimensions of discourse. It's fine. I don't care. As long as your explanation is going to help the reader understand what you are talking about. Or you may start with the claim and explain it. It's fine, as long as it is there. So, speaking about the synthesis of ideas from other sources and evidence, that will help us to move to the notion of referencing, which is a pillar of academic scholarly writing. Why do we do it? We do it in order to back up the claims we're making when writing, to define key concepts, to show statistics and trends, to demonstrate relationship between your study and those of others, to identify and notify readers about possible gaps where more research is needed, to acknowledge sources and to avoid plagiarism. We have defined it, but in-text referencing, as opposed to end-of-text referencing, within text, sources must appear within the body text, in the middle, at the end, or at the beginning of the sentence or paragraph. So your surname, the surname of the author, and the year of publication must be attached, as it was the case with Moxley and Archer, 2019, if you remember, where they are talking about ethics in education, with associate plagiarism with that. Here is an example of how in-text referencing is done. In the text, meaning only note, then followed the text that is cited, but this one is cited verbatim inside inverted commas as is, and page number is provided. So please take note, textual reference refers to the author date and the page number. So we are following a Harvard system of referencing. Date and page number are separated by means of a colon, full colon. Or you can start with the information and then you end off with the citation. Please take note of the deployment of parentheses or brackets. So when it is the sources at the beginning of the sentence, only the year and the page number is encircled, is enclosed in parentheses. But when it is at the end of the sentence, before the full stop, everything, including the surname, is put inside brackets. So the same goes for one author, and the same goes for, I mean, these are the different ways in which you can conclude, states. Those verbs are very important, especially in humanities. But in sciences, they observe the example at the bottom where the source is put at the end of right. But in humanities and social sciences, they don't mind. They are flexible. They don't mind to embrace both, you know, these. More than one author, you use et al. If there are more than 4 authors, use et al. Right away. But in some departments, they say, make a list of all of those names. So more, comma, body, comma, events, comma, may, comma, others, and, however, 2006, page 8. Then when you're mentioning it for the second time in this, then you say more, comma, more et al. So meaning that more is with others, is in the company of others. Quickly, without any, without wasting time, you know, this is what you need to do in order to check if your reference list is done properly. Or you can use the MS Word built-in referencing program. It's called reference. You click on the reference button in the menu, then it will show you how you can do it. So you go to references. I don't know if you can see what I'm trying to do. And then reference. So do you want to insert a citation? So you have to add that, but go to YouTube, it will teach you, and you can change the style to Harvard, because it's on APA, and we have Harvard, Anglia, then it will do it, and then you input information there. Once you input that information, let's say you have provided all the bibliographic details, surname, title, year of publication, and you want to draw a bibliography. So it does it for you. You just click on bibliography and you determine whether you want it to be bibliography or you want it to be reference. So it does it automatically for you if you are following the Microsoft Word built-in referencing program. Or you can ask the library about Mendeley. Learn about Mendeley, and it helps you to do your references, and it connects you to the world, the web of information, World Wide Web, www. And then you can do citations there. But my favorite, you know, since I've been working with the students' assignment, I've realized that as much as students know how to do in-text referencing, they're struggling with the references or end of text referencing. So you can use this app, Cite for Me app. You find it on Google. Remember at the beginning I said, go and learn about in-text referencing and end of text referencing on Google. So use Google as a search engine. You will gain access to that information. So you can use the same Google search engine to find this app, Cite for Me. So if you have a text that you want to cite and you don't know what how to draw the bibliography of it. You just follow the prompts. For example, you type cite for me, as you can see on the screen, and then this index will be brought up. You can go straight to Harvard, the Harvard style, but let's say you click on the index on the button or the words that are underlined, because it turns into your mouse pointer when you click there. When you are hovering over there, it will turn into a hand indicating there is more. You can click, it takes you to the world of details. So let's say you clicked on the underlined words, and a window like this will open up. Create Harvard APA or ML citations for your bibliography. To start the process, it asks you, do you want Harvard APA, MLA, or do you want others? Let's say you click on the Harvard button. So then after you have clicked on the Harvard button, as you can see there, to the right-hand side, it says, under the word support, it says citing Harvard. So it's telling you someone is citing using the Harvard method. Now, is this a book or a website or a journal article that you want us to cite? So if it is a website, because many people just give you the URL, they don't give you full details about the website. So you have a problem with the website, or you have a journal article that you want to reference, you click on the journal. Any button will take you to a page like this. Or you can search for that. You type it there, you search based on the title, and it will take you to a page like this. You can put those entries. That resembles the Word, where you inputting the Word referencing in built-in Word, Microsoft Word referencing a program. Then you determine the year of publication, all those, you type them in. So once you have typed them in, then you will be given the end product. You just copy it and you paste it. So you can try that one if you get stuck. But what we want you to do is to learn about the science of referencing, learn about the science of writing in the academy, right, scientifically, so that you can use technology to enhance your knowledge instead of the other way. The way we do things, we go about it the other way around. We want technology to do our work, and we don't do anything. We just assist technology. This is assistive technology. It assists you. So you must learn about these things. Okay, in a nutshell, said academic writing, avoiding plagiarism needs to happen in the context of argumentation and referencing, synthesizing people's ideas using 5-year-old, using more citations as well, and make sure that your paragraphs contain a topic sentence, explanatory sentences, substantiation, and own conclusion. So a topic sentence is a proposition made from the theme of the paragraph, identify one issue, make a claim, and explain it in order to simplify it, to determine the meaning level 2 in the 3 levels of abstraction when we're talking about basic textual analysis. And then validation, which means creating scenarios or citing experts' views, authors' views, and then you can make your own conclusion. So the logic behind this is that you move from what is known to what is hidden to what you want to be known, to the takeaway message. And finally, if you have encountered an old source, you can couple it with the fresh one. Must be under 5 years old, the recent one. So you have the recent, and so that marks the range between 1978 and 2022. And you need to rely on published material, journal articles, and textbooks, more than websites, newspapers, and other policy documents. So it's very important. Unless you are in the law field, then it will be constitution, acts of parliament, court cases, academic text, that is books, journal articles, and other policy positions. So that's how they rate their work. So if you're substantiating your work using journal articles that are less than 5 years old, it means your argument has credibility. You're going to get more marks. Journal articles are peer-reviewed because they've gone through a rigorous process. They are authentic, they are collegial, because they might have been reviewed by the colleagues, by the experts in the field. So they are contributing new knowledge to the existing body of knowledge. Textbooks, remember, are produced and published by companies. So there's a commercial element added to textbook production. I'm not saying they are not important, because if you need information that is expanded, definitions, if you need advantages and disadvantages, factors and all of that, then you have to consult books. But journal articles give you concise, powerful rendition of the current research in a particular topic, in a particular field as well. So over reliance on one type of data source is discouraged. You need to diversify your sources. You need to, that will help you to bring credibility. So we are totally against what is called monophrasing. We want you to paraphrase, we want you to synthesize, we want you to diversify your sources, and then make sure what you have cited is integrated in your argument. So if you decided to cite verbatim as it is, remember, in between inverted commas, you are not saying anything. It's only the person who is cited is doing the talking. So what you need to do at the end is to unpack issues that are raised in that citation, so that the citation is properly integrated into your discussion. It's like bringing a picture into your writing, but if you just throw it, you don't introduce it, you don't reflect on it, you don't analyze it, it will never be properly integrated. I'm making this example deliberate because I am dealing with reports from various faculties where students just throw in a figure, throw in a table. Sometimes they don't label it properly. Sometimes they do not introduce it. Sometimes they do not even reflect, take you back to the detail in the graphic, in the table. So I want you not to do that. And I want you to apply this sense, this logic. If you are bringing additional material, prepare the reader for that and then reflect it. Make sure it's linked, it's integrated into your writing, because it's part of the argumentation process. It's part of beefing up the claims that you are making. So that's it for today. I hope we have enlightened you. I hope that we have done our job to teach you how to avoid plagiarism. And we've taught you about the theory, and we've taught you about the policy and the implications of that policy if you are first-year student, a senior student, or postgraduate student. And no longer will the university be lenient, because it has made the resources available at your disposal in order to avoid plagiarism, this nasty offense. So if you don't want to be expelled, or your degree or diploma to be scrapped, or if you don't want to sit in front of the disciplinary committee, please do avoid plagiarism by summarizing, paraphrasing, and referencing, and then developing your arguments in a manner that is deemed consistent with the academic literacy's demand of the university, of the higher education sector. So I say, big up to you using technology, big up to you learning how to do in-text referencing, big up to you learning how to do your bibliography, your reference list, and big up to you succeeding in the academy, writing and performing well. And you will enjoy your life at CPUT. You will have your ontological being confirmed, and you will find studying at university easy, and you will collect as many degrees, as many awards as it is possible. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mtonjeni, for that. That was a beautiful way to end it. I just want to make sure that people can hear me first.
I can hear you.
Am I audible? Thank you so much to Fundani, CHED, and the Writing Center as a whole. That was an extraordinarily insightful, in-depth presentation. I think all of us will leave today having knowing more about these policies relating to plagiarism, and we'll be better equipped on how to deal with it. Is there an echo on my side? Or is
there is something in the background, but
is there?
yeah, go ahead. We are ready to deal with questions if there are any questions.
Absolutely. Yeah, as I said in the chat, if you have any questions, please do shout. I just want to, on my part as Golden Key President, just want to say again, thank you so much to Fundani for availing themselves, and again for providing us with a very insightful and in-depth presentation today. I think I just want to echo and emphasize Ms. Sefelane's introduction about what Fundani does. Fundani is in recognition of the disparities that exist within the CPUT community. So we understand that the socioeconomic situation in this country is not monolithic. Certain people come from certain backgrounds. So the transition to a mainly English medium of instruction can be very difficult and very daunting for a lot of people who come from Xhosa backgrounds, Zulu backgrounds, etc. And Fundani's aim, as I understand it, is to try and make that experience and that transition easier. And again, I harp to what you've been citing today. You've given a step-by-step approach on how best to deal with situations, on how best any person entering the university space can best deal with academic writing. And I think all of us will benefit looking back at this presentation. Again, please, if you have any questions, please do shout. I'll give it another 30 seconds perhaps if anybody wants to unmute themselves and ask any questions. But other than that, again, I thank Fundani today. You've given, I think it's just over an hour and 40 minutes that we're very grateful for. It's been really great and really insightful. But if there are any questions, please raise your hand. But if there aren't any questions, I think this will be made available on YouTube for anybody to look at after, post hoc, I should say. And hopefully, again, it provides meaningful information about the dangers, about the ways to avoid plagiarism, and how dangerous it is for your academic journey at CPUT and as an academic moving forward in your academic journey. Mr. Mtonjeni, I don't see any questions coming up. So I might perhaps say, if you have any final words, please let us know. But thank you from our side as Golden Key CPUT. We really appreciate your time, the effort, the work that you placed in making this presentation, and we look forward to collaborating with you in the future.
Oh, okay, thank you very much. Thank you to Golden Key for this initiative, and it came at the right time. One would say, why now? Because we are approaching the end of the year. But this is a lifelong lesson. You may have missed it at the beginning of the year because this collaboration was probably not in existence, but we've always been there. People must seek for us. They must not wait for their lecturers to say, go to Fundani, be inquisitive, be curious, find out more about the kind of help you can get at CPUT. And if you want to have a conversation with us, we value dialogue. We invested in talking to people. You can contact us via Mrs. Jean Collins. You can, find out about her details. I'm sure if you are a CPUT person, you will know that it's going to be her surname followed by J, Collins J at cput.ac.za if you want to contact her via email. Probably next year, we will go back fully, we'll be operating from the physical offices on campus. You will find us in all our campuses. We will put posters around so that people can see us. So we may be directing this talk to first-year students, but all the undergraduate students will benefit it. So if you missed it this year, this talk is also valid and applicable for you as long as you are writing your assignments. And we want you to transfer the skill. Don't treat your projects in a fragmented manner. Let's say you have project 1, you apply the skill, and then when you are given project 2, the instruction is not clear on whether you should do referencing or not. You must know that it's an underlying assumption that your writing will be littered with opinions and views from other authors that are weaved and integrated into your own writing to create this powerful message that your target reader, your lecturer will appreciate and will in turn be generous in the awarding of marks. So yeah, colleagues, if there is anyone who wants to say the final word, you are free to do so. Thank you.
From my side, thank you.
Thank you so much to the writing team that has been available today, Mr. Velane, Mr. Nendau, and Mr. Mtondeni. Thank you so much for your presentation, and Ms. Jean Collins, of course. Thank you so much for your time and effort. Again, I say we really appreciate it. And again, this will be made available to anybody on YouTube, and we will be circulating it and making it available to anybody who would like to watch it. And I think it's very invaluable. Thank you again, colleagues and attendees and participants. Please feel free to leave the session, I believe now. Thank you again to Fundani. We really appreciate your time and your effort again. Thank you.
Thank you and good afternoon. Bye.
Have an incredible night. Have an incredible afternoon. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.